So really, Dimitri, we have, I think, spoken from the practitioner's perspective, and I want to really hand it over to you and Rick to really bring this all together from a DASA perspective, because you both have been the visionaries who have really created, I think, elements of that. So what went into creating some of the things that you've done for DASA? How does it tie back to these practitioners' views? Over to both of you.
Thank you so much, Anand, and thanks, Deb, for your presentation. And I'm particularly impressed with the business benefits, which were so clearly stated and presented in your presentation, and for Hari also sharing the specific details of making this happen in such a complex presentation. So let me move to my other screen and bring up, share my screen, so 1 second. Let's see. This should be, oops, 1 second. Let me open it up and present it. Because, let me give me 1 second. So, yes, we're here. So, in this final session with Rick Fahrenhorst, we would like to basically point out 3 specific things. So, the first one is about the framework. So, our competence model, our principles, and we would like to do a kind of reality check with all of you. How relevant is this today? Second topic of this this final chapter is about the product set, our product vision, some exciting new updates that we have. And the third part at the end is about our enterprise leadership forum, which Rick is sharing, and we are very excited to also start making things happening on the ground in India. We will share about it, and I'd like to get your support and involvement as well. So hang on and stay along with us. And before we move, Rick, to the next slide, just an update on the attendees. So I think we have, yeah, no, we're still at the same level. So
nice.
I'm very happy to report that. I'm not surprised because we also put the case studies at the end. I mean, those were very, very exciting. What is your impression, Rick, about what you heard?
Like was mentioned before, it's nice to be able to bring together and connect all the dots. I think it's great to see from a DASA coach perspective, the focus on value. We discussed the culture part, and now also those elements all play a role in the case studies we have presented. And I'm not surprised, but it's nice to see that boil down into a nice recipe, basically, and end result. And yeah, it should be noted that every journey, every transformation is unique. So it would have been very easy, of course, to just buy your transformation somewhere from the shelves and be ready with it. That's not how it works. But I think the stories we share today can definitely inspire, and you can all take away what you like and start. And my only advice would be just don't hesitate too long. Start somewhere and don't focus more on the learnings and the continuous improvement of that journey, and not so much on knowing everything up front and securing buy-in everywhere, etc. Yeah.
Yes. So let's start with the interesting one, and I'm very pleased to have Deb Tripathi with his closing message about, yeah, let's look at what's happening, about those testers who are becoming more involved in operational things, and looking back from the start, and this is important for our audience as well. So Rick was one of the key designers who actually thought about the model of DASA, so, and the concepts that we believe in. And one of the starting concepts, which still holds, and let's have a discussion with all of us, is about the concept of T-shaped professionals. So where you have folks with a specific expertise or perhaps multiple expertise, but are also a kind of generalist as well. So they do understand what the other folks in the team are doing, or even can take over some of those principles. So Rick, from your experience, I mean, when we started it, it was 2015, 16, you know, when we put this in place, and share your experience about the relevance of T-shaped profiles in today's world. How do you see that?
Yeah, I still recall when we started that we found some forerunner organizations investing in continuous delivery, cloud, mostly technology. That something was missing to make it stick and to make it scalable to enterprises. So we discussed also with colleagues from agile consulting firms and from those disciplines, because they have had some issues with scaling agile already. And we discussed what would be ideal to do this. And instead of coming up with much new structures, we try to focus with DASA on the team level. So already some personal certification programs were still around. It's also one of the questions posed by one of you. There are various courses offered by Indian firms. Which one should I choose? I think also offline we can point you into the right direction. And there are, of course, also people outside the DASA ecosystem that can show you the way. But what I still find one of the unique selling points of DASA is that we focus on the comprehensive overview of all the knowledge and skill areas that teams should have to become as high performance as possible. And that's basically this competence framework or competence model that you see now on your screen. I would say it's still very relevant, more relevant than ever. I look at companies which I was leading and also as a consultant back in the years, helping in their changes and their transformations. You see it become very powerful if the teams do not exceed the number of, let's say, typical 6-7 people threshold. So this typical 2 pizza rule that Amazon has coined years ago. That the team should be 7 plus or minus 2 people would be ideal from a collaboration point of view, psychology point of view, but also to do have some expertise built in those people, but let all the team members be sufficiently able to take over each other's work. So the old functions of being a tester to only write and develop test scripts and do the testing, that lies in the past, to be honest. It doesn't mean that testing is not important. On the contrary, I think it's very important, but a normal or good software engineer developer nowadays should write his or her test scripts before actually typing any code. And there are all kinds of automation technology facilities to help with that. Well, and likewise, we came together with a few bright people and thought about, okay, what would then be ideally included on the team level to not be an impediment or let's say slowing down the transformation if you want to gain benefit from all the DevOps principles. And then we came up with this model. We identified 8 knowledge areas, and by that time I still recall that some were more familiar to the core team than others. I think then about programming, infrastructure engineering, continuous delivery. That's because DevOps originally came from, of course, this grassroots movement, literally from a development and operations realm in IT. But what we deliberately said already then, 4 years ago, is that it's never about IT. Of course, IT will be a distinguishing factor to actually create business value, as we've seen in many of the stories presented today. So the business value optimization was already included from the start, and it's not by accident on the top of this list. Of course, if you look at the first versions of the DASA fundamentals course, the theory on which we could build and the examples were more scarce than from the traditional DevOps areas. But I've seen this growing a lot, and in the discussions with enterprise leaders I have, or in companies, especially outside IT, this topic helps this knowledge area to bring it to the table, also earn your seat at the table as IT leader, and explain what kind of acceleration, added value a agile DevOps transformation could bring. Maybe nice to refer to a question we got from Sudhi Chola. It's one of the questions in the list. He asks, well, we have at our bank a management team who likes to invest in DevOps, but lack a certain continuous attention to achieve it. There's no overarching plan. It seems that there's little or no agreement with the business. And what should we do then to make it stick? That's to summarize his question he posed. This is a very familiar pattern. I've seen it happen many times. It's also not bad that the first leaders, informal or formal ones, to drive the transformation are in IT, but it's also a risk. And I would say you really have to start with two things. It's one, to secure some senior leadership sponsoring outside IT. And to do this, that's the second part, you need to create a storyline focused on business value, which was explained in the earlier talks as well. And that's not always easy. And my suggestion would be to actually not use the words agile or DevOps at all. Because that forces us to talk about the underlying why of doing the transformation, and leave, let's say, the technicalities and the underlying principles more to the folks like us in this call. It's not always that easy, and also the name works against us because DevOps literally focuses so much on IT things, and I believe it's really about creating cultures and high performance organizations. So from that angle, I hope this helps a little bit, Sudhi. But from this angle, we also delivered 4 years ago this competence model, and I think nowadays you see that it's comprehensive enough and generic enough to be relevant still. It's recognized more by companies. At the same time, to kickstart your transformation, you should start somewhere. And for some of us, that means creating a more flexible microservices architecture. For others, it means building a nice cloud native platform to release every day or multiple times per day. For others, it could mean to really make sure that flow in other parts of the business processes start taking place. And that's also the strength, I think, Dimitri, that we offer, let's say, a competence model, not only to build high performance teams, so that they get basically a guide, a map in which they can invest on the team level various skills and also on the personal level, but it also helps to tailor-make your journey in your transformation. You can start at many different places, but you also know from the start which elements you sooner or later have to include or have to deal with. And that helps as a compass, I would say.
Yeah, so Rick, related to this, we have a question also from Mandiam, so which is related to this T-shaped profiles. And I typically get a lot of questions like, okay, we understand the concept of T-shaped profiles, but how do you do it? So let me explain for also the folks who are relatively new to DASA. I mean, how we live it on a day-to-day basis. So if you look at the competence model, and there's also a mapping of the courses that we provide, but the starting program is the DASA DevOps Fundamentals. And the beauty of that program is if you look at the competence model, we bring you to level 2. That program is bringing you to level 2 on all 12 domains. So, and the question for Mandiam is, how does a T-shaped profile is actually an advantage, over having 12 specialists in it? And let me try to explain a little bit, and Rick, please fill me in as well, because we do have some time. So first of all, if you talk about culture, if you talk about behavior, if you talk about people, and there are the 4 skills areas, we tell you, we train you, we come with examples about what kind of behavior is expected. And having all of you in the team talking the same language, talking the same behavior, knowing what kind of leadership from you individually is required and from your leaders, that is already a huge step forward. And then, if you look at the knowledge areas, having all a proper understanding, and we talk about level 2, which is competent, and we bring you to level 2 to know, about customers, business value optimization, know enough about testing and infrastructure engineering and all that stuff. You are a more complete, well-rounded professional. And research has proven, and that's the answer to your question, we can also share it, I don't have a link in our presentation, that having more T-shaped profiles in a team will help you become more successful and move forward. So that's a little bit of a background. Rick, let me know
maybe
if you...
add a little bit to it. I think many people also 4 years ago definitely now have, of course, multiple proficiencies on the left side of this list, the knowledge areas, and you should definitely value this. And we are not here to state that is not important anymore, but it really helps to build a common frame of reference and language in your organization to have a certain proficiency in all the aspects. And that helps tremendously to not be solely focused on one individual, for example, to the test specifications or the security aspects. It also helps building the ownership and the responsibility needed to actually build, run, and love the products you build in a company. What we did with the skills areas is to actually create an environment and also stimulate the ongoing learning, continuous learning process. In other DevOps philosophies, it's a bit more focused on the technicalities and on the knowledge areas. We focus a lot in DASA on also understanding with each other what are the key skill areas that, if embedded nicely or if invested in, automatically people will be encouraged to explore more of the knowledge areas or come up with additional ones. And that is why we will see that in a minute, why also in the more recent trainings DASA provides, a larger emphasis is put on the skill areas as well, because that can accelerate your transformation.
Absolutely. So Rick, let's move to the next slide, because this slide, the left, we talk about the 12 domains, the skills areas and the knowledge areas, but this also brings in the principles. And just to bring it back to the audience, so when we started in 2016, we started with a competence model and those 6 DASA DevOps principles. So can you reflect on the principles and put them in today's perspective, please?
Yes, I can. Well, we already listed shortly the competencies. I taught you a little bit about it. So it's a combination of knowledge areas that, taken together, those 8 give you a nice comprehensive skill level or knowledge level on all the elements that you need as an autonomous product team. Combined with the skills, you have all the ingredients in place to become a high performance team. That was the thinking. And if you have multiple high performance teams and you have supportive leadership around, and you make sure that there's not too much waste in the processes, then you will also have a high performance organization that benefits from change and that is completely agnostic from the actual digital transformations that you have high on your agenda. For an airline, that is could be completely different than from a retailer. So we abstract from that in DASA. The key principles are very generic. And what is still often not that much ingrained in teams and organizations is the first principle, and which is one of the most important ones. And that's this customer-centric action, that we focus on what does this actually deliver to end customers. What is the actual value that we work for? For who are we actually working? And keep the customers in mind, put them centric to your actions, and understand the value that you want to deliver and the customer journeys that they are actually included in. Well, if you do this and you then want to organize your team accordingly, then you want to focus on what we call product thinking. And with product thinking, you think really with the end in mind about what kind of value would you like to deliver to your end customers. And if you focus on that, then you want not just project thinking to deliver a feature and go to the next project. You want to own the product. Product thinking means that you are responsible as a team from the inception of an ID up until the end of life of certain products and services. And please note, it's not about IT products necessarily, although teams could exist to focus on IT products. It's really about products and services in terms of business value, and organize your teams around that. And end-to-end responsibility therefore means that you are also responsible when the system breaks down or when there's an incident. So product owners, which as the name suggests, typically should be the ones wearing the pagers and make sure, together with all the team members, that something is done to either prevent bad things from happening in the first place or make sure that you quickly fix it. And the only way to do that, and that's the link to the 4th principle, is that you have then cross-functional teams and you have T-shaped people in your team. And to make sure that you don't need 20 people in a team, because that doesn't work from all the literature and science we know from team building, you need to be sufficiently broad in your knowledge and skills with some deep expertise, hence the T-shaped. That's cross-functional autonomous teams. But the key word here is autonomous. And that means also, and we'll see that in a minute, that you need facilitative leadership to make sure that autonomy is also given to those teams, instead of that you still, in a command control way, give directions. Well, the last two things are more of a mindset to help those teams to create more and more value over time. To start with the last one, everything that can be automated, we say in DASA, should be automated, because it leaves literally more time to think of more customer value. And in general, if you have a continuous improvement mindset, it doesn't matter that much where you start, what practices you adopt. Will you do Scrum, Kanban? Will you do visual management? Will you start implementing SAFe? And it helps to think of it like this, because in every organization there's a snapshot of how it is currently happening, and based on elimination of constraints or focus on added value, you can start somewhere. But you do need to have a continuous improvement mindset, which means, that's the arrow to the bottom, you need continuous measurements and improvements to make sure this is where we stand now, this is the trend we see, and we like that or not, and we will adapt. So those principles together is really helping creating the right culture. And it's great to see, and Dimitri, you can say a few things about that, that we see over the last few years that more and more companies also got inspired by those key principles in our framework, and of course tailor-made it for their own journeys. And one of them is Leon's.
Yeah, so that's why I added this slide, Rick, because we talk about relevance. I mean, and also because you are here, we have the opportunity to look a little bit back at what has evolved over the years. But Rick and I were both invited a couple of days back to evaluate or think along with a global transformation plan from one of the largest insurance companies in the world. And we were so obviously pleased to see that the DASA Devils principles are a core part of their overall proposal. And of course, they talk about best of breed standards and principles, and we can only be very happy and satisfied that they're using our principles as well. Not only the courses and certification, also our principles to drive this transformation and support the organization. So on top of that, if you look at our approaches, so we have roadmaps to build organizational-wide competencies. I would suggest it will be part of the deck. So for all of you who are interested in how we can support you on the ground with our solutions, the interventions, and our partners in India to help you move forward in your transformations, then also reach out for more detailed discussions. Because Rick, I suggest we move to the next one, where we bring some of the competence model and the principles together and map it a little bit to the culture and the leadership.
Yeah, we already touched upon it a little bit, but if you summarize and you see here with nice icons, the key the 6 principles that we put in the center of everything we do at DASA, that these are the ingredients that you could use to create this high performance culture in your organization and grow it from within. Like I said, why is this more relevant than ever? I think on the one hand, because the DASA principles help you to focus not so much on operational stuff, which is of course important to keep improving, or technical trends or technology advancements, because they can also come and go, they get easily outdated, and that would mean that you can be brought off track easily as leaders or as specialists in an organization if you focus too detailedly on that. Instead, as DASA, we want to focus on the overarching principles, and that focuses more on words like culture, leadership, and basically creating the right conditions for success. And exactly happens in the teams, and how a team is continuously improving, or what kind of automation solutions they are adopting, that is less relevant, and that is very tailor-made for every company and every team. And I think also the DASA framework helps you for creating tailor-made transformations and start, like I said earlier, where you want in that journey. And I think there's an urgency now to step up our games, because if not already started in your organizations, I think COVID-19 still can be considered kind of a black swan, although the author of anti-fragility does not agree with that the pandemic was not to be expected, but you get the point, I guess. We were still surprised by the speed and the magnitude of this environment we are now in, which gives us as leaders in the digital world a unique opportunity to start to increase the storytelling and leading organizations in terms of this digital or DevOps transformations. And this model at the right side, again, you can take a scan on an individual or team level to see where you are at the moment, and there's no right or wrong there, but it can help you significantly to understand where do I want to be and where do I start.
Yeah, fantastic. That's an important one, because this scan is free of charge. It's available. We developed the scan for our community. So go to the DASA website, take the DASA DevOps quick scan, 24 questions, and you will get this specific spider. You get your own DevOps fingerprint. The magic is you can also roll it up on team level, assess where you are as a team, and identify if you have specific gaps. Because from DASA, we provide guidance. You need to be at minimum level 4 or 5 on a team level on each of the 12 individual domains. There is a webinar next week where which I will be hosting with APMG, the Exam Institute. It is in the European time zone. I don't know exactly what time, but we will request everyone to come prepared with their scan, and we will provide career routes and learning paths and interpretations of the individual scans. We have 10-20,000 people around the world who already took it. It's a very interesting exercise, and have a look at it. Hare Krishna also mentioned it. It can be an interesting exercise for you to assess where you are, but also to see where you can improve individually or on a team level. So Rick, right on track. So we have some updates on the product, so we can reveal a little bit. And let me kick this one off, because this is actually a very unique one, also unique in India. So we are running DASA DevOps Fundamentals in a special version called Masterclasses. And let me explain it a little bit. So we run a standard certification course by our training partners, but those training partners invite real gurus to provide guest lectures on specific topics. And we ran the first version in Europe, where you also presented, Rick. You spent a couple of hours also sharing your expertise, your failures, your learnings on top of the DASA topic. But we also have the ex-CIO of ING, Renee Visser, who managed a large DevOps Agile project. We have a person from NXP who's also overseeing an India global DevOps project, India, US, and Holland. So share a little bit about your perspective, Rick. How was it being in front of this audience?
Yeah, it was great. Of course, it was nice to give a training after quite a few years, for me at least. See how the contents we just summarized in the previous slides still resonate even more with the participants. So that was nice to do. But I also like the few of the ingredients. Want to mention that why this virtual masterclass setup was quite successful. And I think it can be very valuable in different geographies as well. So welcoming all the feedback from you also after this meetup, of course. I think we listed them here. I think one of the winning ingredients was that there was a lot of interaction. While in a typical classroom setting, although it was never designed as such, you could, of course, give a traditional classroom training on DASA fundamentals, DevOps fundamentals, and just send a lot of inspiring stuff. But here we had more interaction, so we didn't make the group too large. And like we get today, a lot of questions. There was a lot of interactivity, and that was possible with the software we were using. It was also nice to see that the masters, or at least the experts we invited to share their stories, were able to navigate nicely between, on the one hand, some foundational knowledge that is included in the core of the materials, but also combine that with stories from the trenches, from their own experience. And like Dimitri said, that can be success stories, but even more powerful, I believe, are the failures, and explaining what went wrong and what would I do different next time. And I have a backpack filled with some stories like that, and it was nice to see how that resonated. And of course, people cannot one-on-one replicate or copy that and prevent those mistakes from happening, but it helps to recognize certain behavior and certain things, also politics and resistance to change in organizations. And I think it's very powerful, because the whole point is that we want to create a community with DASA, and more people able to navigate in their organizations those barriers to change and inspire other people, build momentum. And the masterclass was actually very suited for that. And by having relatively bite-sized sessions of 2.5 to 3 hours, it was easy to digest. People were able to read up between the sessions, let it sink in, post questions the next session. I would really promote this form over, let's say, 2 long sessions in a virtual way, because it's hard to keep your attention to it. But it worked quite well, and I think it would be great to have. I think we have some things lined up, Dimitri, in the India region on this.
So we will share details as well. So on September 15 is the starting date. We'll share the exact timing as well with everyone interested of the first one in India. So it will be hosted by a training partner, Yayati. We're also calling for experts who are interested in also sharing specific topics around as a master on the masterclass, and I think that Rick will also be participating in that upcoming one and share one of your war stories as well. I would not say.
Yeah.
So the next topic is the coaching, the DASA DevOps coaching. So I think we touched a lot on that today, because we talked a lot about culture and how to change from the inside with DASA DevOps coaches as well. So for those who are not that familiar, we also have a testimonial site on the DASA DevOps coach page. You should really check out what experts from India, but also from other parts of the world who have long-term expertise in Agile and DevOps, how they got triggered and how they got excited by this program. So so far we have a lot of folks supporting and endorsing this. So check it out and join the next program. It will definitely help your career forward. On a product level, we are scoping within the core DASA team and on editorial board level the new leader program. So Rick, would you like to say a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think it's nice. We also had to learn as DASA team to start small and start somewhere. It made sense to start with DevOps fundamentals 4 years ago, and we see still an increase in the in people following this training, because it helps also to speak the same language and be certified in that. On the professional level, we added over the years some products that people can use for developing their own T-shape in various areas of expertise they like. But now that we come into this phase, which we touched upon at the beginning of this meetup, where the transformations really are getting stuck or hampered by, let's say, the right conditions for success, an increased focus also in the DASA team is given to the leadership level trainings. And we've seen a quite successful launch of the product owner training, which is an important role, especially if you give autonomy to team level. Then the product owner, of course, he should not play the boss of the team, but he is a leader to focus on the product scope and vision and roadmap. We have very great successes in, although DevOps coach is only very young, we hit the nail with that one. So great to see with the team working on that, how they captured all the learnings from the coaching world and applied it to the DASA ecosystem. It's really great to see that, and very important, because it helps to train, let's say, an army of people who can help organizations to, on the team level, but also on the organizational level at scale, to do the right things, to unlearn the wrong things, and to create this right, basically this right culture. But last but not least, and it makes sense that we waited a little bit with it, but we can't wait too long anymore, is focusing on the last element in this portfolio, and it's about leader, because in the end, those are the ones actually driving the transformation, owning it also in a formal way, and the ones hopefully hiring or getting assistance from the coaches and the other experts in the company. Without strong leadership and also transformative leadership, there will still be a big bottleneck sooner or later in your transformation. And I see personally that also a lot of middle managers are eager to do this and are really open for learning, but they simply don't know where to start, and they need help with it. And with that leader product training, we want to accommodate for this, and that's scribbled in the left side here. We strong that you can then grow towards maturity level 4, becoming an expert on especially the skill areas that you need to cultivate the right culture and to grow it from within. We were not that pretentious to say that you will become a master, because we still want to be a bit modest and say that mastery level is only adopted by actually putting things in practice and doing it yourself and learning and failing a lot. So level 4 is actually the highest we can bring you with training programs. But of course, it's a big ambition, and we're looking forward to launch it in theaters soon near you.
Absolutely, and we'll keep everyone posted. So, a final update on the product before we move to the Enterprise Leadership Forum, and also have some formal invitations for you. We're also very excited to work with the Yayati team on rolling out assessments to support in the transformation. So some of you have already seen glimpses of it. We're also covering part in the DASA DevOps Coach program as part of the DevOps transformation journey for coaches. But we're extremely excited to take the next steps in this as well. So stay tuned also on the assessment products. Rick, I think a very important topic, and we have 8 minutes left. So I think we are on track. We still take some questions. We will be here a little bit later with also the rest of the core team, so we can anyways take questions. But we want to make sure we close in within 8 minutes for everyone to start enjoying Saturday evening. So tell us more about your ambition for the Enterprise Leadership Forum.
Yeah, well, it's actually nice to conclude with this after this great lineup of speakers and stories we share today, because the whole point of DASA from the start was to really create this community of practice. And although we believe a lot in certifying people and spreading the word and having more and more like-minded folks worldwide focusing on the right principles and practices, we also want to make it easier to come together and share your stories, and as DASA facilitate this. So here in the catchphrase, you see the ambition we have for the Enterprise Leadership Forum. We really want to get to know, groom, bring together, and grow all the thought leaders and practitioners from enterprise organizations and build a community around them. Because we know, we saw small examples in the Allianz slide and others we mentioned earlier in this meetup, great case studies. There are many more around, and we want to learn from each other. And it's with our busy day jobs not always easy to do this, but in all the events I helped organize, it was of tremendous value to learn from those cases with each other in an informal, safe environment. So we'll do whatever we can, finding next level, also digital driven channels to share experiences and build this large body of knowledge, basically. I'm convinced that this will help transform your organizations, because you do not have to reinvent the wheel or start from scratch. To this end, we came up with the following concept. On a conceptual level, it's on the right side. We try to sketch the whole DASA community that is taking shape now in a fast pace, to be honest. So it's great to see so many attendees today, but also in other geographies, we have more and more attendees in events we organize. On the right side, you see in the community building approach, you see meetups such as this one, masterclasses, global events, etc. But more and more knowledge has been shared and put into practice as well. So in the upper green box there, you see that we bring out white papers, we write blogs, and we want to invite everybody to not hesitate and share your own experiences and stories in one of those formats that suit you and that you like and that appeal to you. It can be a short teaser video, can be an interview, And we want to, let's say, from the Enterprise Leadership Forum to facilitate this. At the same time, we want to moderate it a little bit by orchestrate and identify the key trends that can also then move into the courseware development programs or in the lineup of events that DASA organizes. So that's why we position the Leadership Forum a bit in the middle of this schematic overview, collaborating actively with DASA ambassadors worldwide, influencers we have, and basically everybody who likes to join. Well, on September 1st, we have a big DASA Enterprise Leadership Forum event. So this is, you're one of the first to know this. There will be soon a launching page on the website, so you can subscribe to it. You can already subscribe to the Enterprise Leadership Forum if you're open to that. There's a link at the bottom of this slide. We will distribute it. Just leave your name, tell us a little bit about your function, role in your company, and what your interests are, and in what way you would like to contribute. You don't need to have a large CV or a long list of organizations that you help survive to actually add something to the growing community. So don't be too shy. At the same time, and that's what we now are putting into place after summer, we want to be decentral as DASA as much as we can in trying to facilitate the wider community in a global form. And the way I would like to do that is creating what I call chapters or local teams, leadership teams from an enterprise leadership perspective in various geographies. And I think India would be a logical one to be one of the first because of that many great leaders already, formal and informal. Look at the lineup of today. Because those people can then think of the events and the knowledge that need to be shared or is interesting to share for that particular domain. And it can be different from Scandinavia or Japan or the US. Sometimes it's the same, and we can also learn from each other. So I will make sure that we will have alignments between the various chapters as well. To get this starting, basically, that's why at the bottom right we have this call for interested people. If you like to help build Enterprise Leadership Forum in a more active way, we are looking for a small number of people who would like to take the lead on that. So if you are interested, send me a personal note with your IDs and your interest, and I'll come back to it and I'll respond.
Excellent, Rick. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So, Anand, Akil, how are we doing? Question to you and to the rest of the audience. I think we have 2 minutes left, so.
Not too much time for questions, but yeah, I think so. One of the things we are going to be doing is make sure that we get all your questions that have been left unanswered, and we will distribute it amongst ourselves and provide as informed a response as possible to those. And they will be posted along with the slides and the video recording as well. So that's for sure. That's something we commit as well. Anything more?
No, I think regarding the questions, first of all, it's a big thank you, because we asked for this kind of engagement, but there were so many responses we were only able to capture and a couple of them. So we will personally get back. I see a lot of relevant ones also on the upcoming schedule for the masterclass, and there are many questions there which we obviously get back to that. Absolutely, yes.
I think it'll be useful to just get a one-word feedback as well for the event itself. So if people can sort of go into the Q&A box and just put the one word for the event in terms of the time that you spend and how well worth was the investment of your time, how valuable was it, so that we also are in a position to take that feedback and work on it. Because it's all about value realization. If you recall, it is all about the power of feedback. So we better work in the DevOps way. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. So Dimitri, any closing comments, and how would you like to close it?
Yes, so I was about to answer a question about the DASA scanner, where to find it. So it's under the resource, and then you'll find the scan. So I was very tempted to actually cut and paste it in the question box, but let me just close this session. It was another very, very unique event. I mean, spending 3.5 hours together with such a incredible lineup, but even more interesting and very incredible audience. And all of you stayed along with us throughout the session, which is extremely, extremely cool. So I'd like to thank our external speakers, Harry, Deb, and our core team for showing up. I'd like to thank all of the attendees for joining us. We've shared a lot. Let us know how we can take it to the next step. Obviously, we have our programs running, so make sure you sign up and take yourself to the next level. We have the ELF announcements. We'll keep you posted on all the product updates, and but moreover, stay in touch with us and let us know what we can do next time, which topics we can cover, and also get you perhaps as well in this forum and give you a platform to share your ideas to take all of us to the next level. So I would like to pass on to Anand and Akhil and anyone else also for a closing remark from my end. It has been a fantastic Saturday preparation and doing this today, and I'm very blessed, guys. Very happy with this.
Thank you very much, Dimitri. I just want to leave the participants with, of course, first and foremost, thank you very much for participating. The second is we want to continue to keep this as a community. There is a lot of richness in being able to come together with the best practices, with learnings, just like you heard from Hari and Deb, just two of them. And of course, from the experiential aspects of Akhil, Rajat, and Nivarti as well. We would like to get more of you involved in this process, both at the receiving end and the contributing end. So one of our objectives will be to continue this, the people that have attended, and create this community and continue to expand this as well. So thank you very much. It's a great start to that journey. Thank you very much.
Dimitri, Anant, there is a couple of WhatsApp messages I received saying that when is going to be the next meetup? It was Saturday worth investing. So where are we going to assign the next meetup is what I got a WhatsApp message for some of the participants.
That's a good question. We'll have to plan a date with all of us, isn't it? So let's take the inputs and I plan the next one as well as soon as possible. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to everybody for having spent your weekend. It's a Saturday. I recognize that even in COVID times, I think weekends are very valuable. Thanks for taking the time out and being with us. Thank you very, very much and have a great weekend.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.